Firstly, I don't give a shit what you say, Jimmy Carr. I don't need to know what you think about parenthood. I don't care what you think. And I'm just done hearing men talk about how it brought you meaning in your life. I just don't want to hear it. And again, stop giving your personal experience as the blanket to everyone else in the world. So that's one. Mm-hmm. Then two, I'm getting angry now, folks. Then two, it's... Wait, what was two? I'm just so angry, so angry. I'm Zoe.
And I'm James. And we are Childfree. How are you feeling today, Zoe?
I'm doing okay. We are in the
Just okay.
No, I'm doing amazing. I'm doing brilliantly. No, but we left the Canary Islands last week, so that was a bit sad, right? We really loved our time there. We had 4 months exploring Lanzarote, Fuerteventura, Gran Canaria for a little bit, and we just fell in love with the place, didn't we?
Yeah. Feel like I'm missing Island James already.
Me too. The Hawaiian shirts.
The Hawaiian shirts. The tan is fading.
Just feeling of freedom that you had. The smile on your face.
Yeah, it's all gone.
But no, I mean, pretty cool to be heading. We had a 40-hour ferry, so that wasn't that cool. But you do it because the place is incredible, so it's worth it. But yeah, we still had wobbly legs for a few days, so we got into the port in Huelva and then travelled pretty much straight into Portugal. So this is not a bad kind of place to end up today, is it? We've been surrounded by orange groves, and now we're just making our way through southern Portugal, gonna head towards Lisbon to start photographing amazing child-free elders. So I'm really excited about that. But yes, a little bit sad to say bye to the Canary Islands.
Yeah, but a bonkers little surprise happened when we'd just got off that ferry and we're drinking coffee drinking coffee to try
the hell out.
Yeah.
Didn't know which way was up and down.
Yeah. And then a couple of people just walked up to us in this little port town and were like, hi. And we're like, hi.
We had no idea what was going on. We were like, Did we arrange to meet someone? And we just completely forgot.
And it turns out they recognized us off the internet through this project. Which is like, I think it's happened to you before in Berlin,
yeah,
where this all began.
Yes, we have like a pretty big community there. So, but I was not expecting it in this tiny little town in Portugal. Yeah, but incredible. They're an Indian couple now living in London, and they were just so grateful for what the project has done for them. The stories, the work that we do, it's helped them navigate their journey. And hearing, I guess James and I, we can be in our little bubble a lot of the time. We're sharing stories, creating podcasts, videos, portraits, all of the content and the work that we love creating. But when you actually meet someone in person and you get to truly hear how it's changed their life, it gives you that feeling that it has impact, right?
Yeah, because I think we are bubbles are perfect idea. Like we were literally on an island for months, and far away from anyone who knew us and knew what we were up to and anything like that. I mean, still working away, like the internet. It's not all terrible. It
allows us to do our stuff
and reach out to all of you all. But there's something about sitting down, having brunch with people who get what you're doing,
right,
and who you can connect with on that level because they've been through a lot of the stuff that we've been through as well.
Yeah.
Plus, like, kind of extra pressure and trying to work things out as well. And hearing that the project has helped clarify things and give them permission to explore who they are and make choices and feel happy about those choices.
Right.
There's nothing better than that.
And of course, I had to ask, can I take your portrait? And I would love to share your story. So that's what I did. We had brunch with them yesterday, and then I photographed the couple, and then we're going to share this story because it's really important as well to show that navigating the child-free journey can be complicated, and it can then be even more complicated when you're a couple, because there's two of you. Yes, you have to make your own decision, but when you're in a partnership, then that's another layer to add maybe to that complexity. So I have some beautiful photos to share. I'm going to work on that this week, and we're just going to share that. But how incredible. Amazing. What a start to our journey, eh?
I know, right? And one of the things we talked about was, does having children actually make you happy? Which is what today's pod is all about.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this episode, because this has always come up a lot in the work that we do, the stories that we share, because society is so obsessed by this idea of parenthood. It gives you meaning. Therefore, if you do not have children, where will you find that meaning? You will live sad, lonely, unfulfilling lives. And we've been hearing from folks for years now who have told us that their lives had that meaning, that they loved their lives. And being able to, I hope, dispel this really toxic, negative myth is going to really help people. So what have you discovered in your researching, James?
Well, the bad news is we're going to the Daily Mail.
Oh, God, we're sorry. We're really sorry, folks.
So Zoe, maybe you could read this headline for us.
Okay. Having children doesn't make you happy. Becoming a parent provides no boost to well-being, study claims. But it does ruin your relationship. Oh, God.
Right.
Seriously, guys? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know the last part. I don't know where they got that from.
Right, yeah.
Because this study, which came out a few weeks ago by researchers at a university in Cyprus, didn't really talk anything about it ruining your relationship.
No, I mean, maybe they're extrapolating that, when you have children, we know that obviously it can put a strain on your relationship. And if you're married, then perhaps that's going to lead to difficulties and divorce. But that is not part of this study. That is not in there at all. So they're just adding that for shits and giggles.
I think to wind people up, which is interesting. This is like, I don't know, reverse rage bait or something. Or maybe they just know that keeping their readers in a constant state of being fucking pissed off is what drives engagement. Because the Daily Mail, if you don't know it, it's a UK newspaper, very right-wing, very pro-natalist, like a lot of the media is. And this was just one article that came out about this study.
Just one. Yeah, I imagine people were losing their shit. This is like prime bait to just get people riled up, get them hating on each other. Perfect distractions. So.
And we can see it coming a mile off now. I'm like Mad Max in Fury Road, pointing up, going, that's bait.
That's bait.
That's bait.
And then you'll inevitably get the media outlets approaching you, like for comments coming on to have interviews where basically they just want to pit you against a parent, and we just won't do that anymore. You know?
And that's very the tenor of all of the coverage about this. Very divisive. But let's get into what the study actually said. So Zoe, if you could tell us what the researchers said. And this was a study published in a psychology journal, and this is the TLDR of their findings.
These results do not support our hypothesis that parenthood is positively associated with hedonic well-being (levels of positive emotions) and life satisfaction. Instead, our findings suggest neutrality, namely that parenthood has limited impact on these dimensions. In almost all cases, the observable differences between parents and non-parents were tiny. Wow, okay, that is not what we are told.
No.
Not what society is pushing. That narrative could not be any more different.
Right, and it's not what these researchers were expecting to find.
Oh,
like
really?
They said.
Okay.
They basically would expect that having children would, I guess, make people happy.
Right.
That people would feel more positive emotions than people who don't have children.
Okay.
But when they compared those two groups, like they were saying, the observable differences were tiny.
So they were like, damn, we've booked ourselves basically. Because I'm assuming, you do these studies because you want to, I hope, find truth, but also you have your own bias, right? You're a human. You probably go into it thinking, well, of course they're going to make things better and happier for you.
Yeah, you'd think so. But like that what jumps out to me is the word neutrality there. Which I like, because obviously we advocate for child-free people, but we're very careful not to say that being child-free is better than being a parent. And we just want people to make the choice that is right for them, and to be informed about that choice, ideally, and also to face like no judgment or pressure around that choice. So we would like the message to be out there that both you can be happy and child-free. And that having children is not the key to happiness for everyone. So I'm glad that message is getting out there finally in the year of our Lord Dolly Parton 2026.
It's just wild. I'm interested as well. When did we need to have this kind of justification for having kids? Like, when did that kind of narrative come out there? Is it because parenthood started to become a much more difficult, harder thing in a capitalist world, and we needed to be able to put out a message that, hey, even though this is really difficult, even though day to day there is drudgery and sometimes you may have regret, don't worry, it's all worth it. That messaging kind of makes people go against their feelings of like, okay, my life is hard and it might be harder with kids, but this is where my meaning is going to come from, and this is where I'm going to get that happiness from. So I have to push through all of that and go for it.
I mean, I'm sure that's not new messaging, but it's persistent, and we're going to get into exactly that kind of tenor of messaging, because this story wasn't reported as if the findings were neutral.
Right.
There are lots of articles with that kind of big splashy headline like the Mail had, having children does not make you happy. And then you had the inevitable backlash of people insisting that parents are happy, which is true. Like, parents can be happy, and that it's all worth it.
It's so dumb to me that we blanket statement so much of this stuff. It's like, everyone is different. Every person will find their joy, happiness, fulfillment, meaning from different things. So when you just go, parents are happy, child-free people are happy, it just doesn't leave any room for nuance or diversity or the humanity that of our experience. Why are you smiling?
Because I know what's coming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so let's hear from some people who don't know the first thing about any of that. And this was a reel that you actually sent me.
Oh, yes, I know the reel you're talking about. This got me very rageful, lovelies. This was one that when you're watching something and you go, is this real? Is this person serious about what they're putting out into the world to potentially millions of people? Terrifying shit.
So that's a good setup. This is a guy called Chris Williamson, who, if you don't know, lucky you, but he's like the sort of bland British version of Joe Rogan. He's another like muscly guy just asking questions of people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Almost always men. Just chatting shit.
All harmless, isn't it? All harmless.
So he's interviewing Naval Ravikant, who is the founder of Angel List, which is like around startup investment. So he's like a rich guy, tech guy who always have the worst opinions. But he's a dad, so he's an expert on this.
Right. He can speak for every parent out there.
And more of an expert than teams of researchers and trained scientists as well, as he's going to get into.
People have been memed into thinking that kids make your life worse, and that's a pretty bad.
What's your experience been?
Kids make your life better in every possible way. If you want an automatic built-in meaning to life, have kids. And I think there are these bad psych studies, like most psych studies, unfortunately, that say that people are unhappy when they have kids. Yeah, it's because you're catching them in the middle of changing a diaper and you're saying, like, are you glad you had kids or not? Or they don't even say that. They say, are you happy or not? And they say, no, I'm not happy right now. But what they don't realize is that person has found something more important than being happy in the moment. They found meaning, and the meaning comes from kids. And if you ask parents, do you regret having kids? I think it would be 99-1 against, it would be, no, I don't regret having kids. I love having kids. I'm so glad I had kids. It's incredibly rare to meet a parent that regretted having children. It's pretty good odds.
Wow.
Pretty good odds. Pretty good odds.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I mean, there was so many things in that video that were horrifying, that he just used his personal experience to just blanket statement every parent, every experience. Ridiculous. You can't know how every parent feels. And the fact that you say study, like psych studies, you basically badmouth science, it told me everything.
Yeah, and I mean, he obviously hasn't read the study, because the study didn't say that...
Oh, he doesn't need to. He knows.
This study didn't say that parents are not happy. It said they are no more happy than people who don't have kids. So that's like one. And then also how this was shared, Zoe doesn't follow Chris Williamson, so
yeah,
kudos for that.
How it comes up in my feed, I don't know, but it does.
Well, it came from somewhere called Ready Set Parent, which I'm guessing you also don't follow.
Childfree people have told me that they get parenting content because they are child-free, which the help me, James.
Conspiracy theorist?
Yes. In me, we'd say, like, is that on purpose? Are you trying to convince people? But whatever it is, or whether it's just a really terrible system serving terrible content to me, I don't know. What was my point? I got into the rant mode.
So anyway, yeah, Ready Set Parent.
Oh, yeah.
The caption on their thing said, having kids doesn't make your life easier, but it gives it more meaning than anything you'll ever do. Which is so annoying, right? Because it's setting up this false dichotomy which we see everywhere. This sort of like throwing in the fact that having kids is hard, and then also immediately like backing that up with, but it's worth it, but it gives you there's a but behind that. And it's also like, we're not talking about how hard it is. No one said it's not hard. And I think there's this really fucking frustrating assumption that the only reason, and from hashtag not all parents, but from parents like this guy who can't see beyond their own experience, they could only consider that the only reason not to have children is because it's hard. So there's this idea that we are just like weak or lazy or shirking responsibility when we don't have children. That's the only valid reason they could see possibly to not have children. But I'd love to know what this angel investor does at home, like how much of a dad he is.
Exactly. I'm sick of seeing men talking about parenthood, about how we just need to push through how hard it is. I'm like, we know the difference in parenting for men and women, that women still take on the majority of childcare, the majority of domestic labor in the home, and they also have careers now. So they have to bring in an income, because we can't survive on just one person's income anymore. So that's capitalism. And these men putting their 2 pence in, and I just know that their experience of parenthood is so different to the average person, because like you say, they probably have a lot of support. We know that these men who are at the top, who are earning all this money, they are able to have their careers, their lives, because they have a woman who basically provides that for them by looking after their children, looking after their home, allowing them to do their careers, their lives, have their hobbies, all of that stuff. So I don't want to hear it from men. I'm sorry. I know there are some amazing fathers out there, and I'm really happy about that. I certainly don't want to hear from tech bros talking about how hard parenthood is, trying to convince basically women and convince men to, persuade your women that it's worth it. Persuade your wives and your partners that, we'll help, we'll do it all together. It just feels very coercive.
Yeah, and it does. There's complete erasure of the possibility that people might just not want to have kids. Because if you don't want to have kids, then no amount of like unconditional love or selfless sacrifice or purpose or meaning or whatever will make up for it, I believe. Okay, there are people in the middle for whom this is a consideration. So by all means, think about how hard it is, think about what you'll get out of it. But then also there's this erasure of regretful parents.
Yes, but he knows. He's never met a parent.
Whatever the fuck it was, like 99.9% of people, if you ask them, will
wrong.
say, I don't regret having my kids. So he's wrong because there are more studies, which we know he doesn't believe in, but there are studies that prove that he's wrong, that there are regretful parents. Also, the internet is now full of stories from regretful parents, like Dinky Pod share stories from regretful parents almost every week.
And if you ask a parent to their face, do you regret having kids? And you are a parent, what do you think they're going to say? Do they feel like that's a safe space to share one of the most stigmatized things, I think, out there? A parent saying they regret having their children is probably the biggest taboo out there. We shame those people. We don't say, thank you for your honesty. We need to hear those stories and that honesty. It doesn't mean you love your kids any less. It just means that you needed it to be a different way. Maybe you didn't have the support. Maybe it wasn't what you thought it was going to be. There's so many reasons why you may have that regret. That's valid. And we dismiss it, we minimize it, and we shame people. So they're not going to be telling you the truth, mate, if you are the one asking them.
At your like Silicon Valley dinner parties as well, right? They'd be like, yeah, piece of piss, I never see them.
Right.
But this, that sent me down Chris Williamson rabbit hole.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which we're only going to dip our toes into a little bit more, so I'll spare you the most of it. But I didn't have to look far to find something similar. Another very clickbaity short from an interview with quotes unquote comedian Jimmy Carr.
Oh, yes.
So can't wait to hear what this guy has to say about parenthood. The title of this one was "The Truth About a Life Without Kids."
Oh, God. Okay.
So
Tell us, please.
You're going to fucking love this one, Zoe.
Yeah, so this was my theory on life. Was I have a partner I've been with for many, many years, and we get on great. And it struck me that not having kids was like, we didn't want kids. And it was living life with a cheat on, the video game. This is super easy.
Why was it easy?
Because what I didn't realise, you think you have skin in the game, but you don't have skin in the game until you have kids, because it's a medical procedure where your heart now lives outside your body. You worry more about your mortality now you've got kids. Because it's, what's the worst that could happen? You could die. Well, now it's much worse. There might be a saying goodbye. So I think I thought I was living life on easy settings, and actually I was playing at a very low stakes table. And now I feel like I'm playing in a higher stakes table. And it's very joyful.
Oh, God. The music is disgusting. The way they try and pull people's like emotional heartstrings and like, this means something, guys.
And your man needs to shell out for some more stock music, because it was the same
song, isn't it?
It's the same song.
Dear Lord.
I don't know if it's just the joyful dad music or what. It's on some library as joyful dad.
God.
Yeah.
Firstly, I don't give a shit what you say, Jimmy Carr. I don't need to know what you think about parenthood. I don't care what you think. And I'm just done hearing men talk about how it brought you meaning in your life. For starters, I'm imagining in your partnership, you're not doing most of the work. I just don't want to hear it. And again, stop giving your personal experience as the blanket to everyone else in the world. So that's one. Then two, I'm getting angry now, folks. Then two, it's... Wait, what was two? I'm just so angry. Like this low stakes. If you don't have kids, it's low stakes. What are you talking about? The love that I have for the people in my life is no less meaningful to me than the love I might have had for a child. Yes, it can be different. It still doesn't matter to me. If I lost you, that would be the most devastating thing in my life. I don't know how I would recover. If I had a child, it would also be devastating. Maybe it would be devastating in a different way, and I want to allow people to feel love in different ways. My love for you is not any less than someone else's love for a child, and so on and so on. Any person's love for themselves, for their relationships. It's just this idea that there's one type of life, love, meaning that matters in this world, and it's a pro-natalist statement and messaging that we put out there, and the only one that matters is that of having a child and being a parent, and that is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. We get to decide what matters to each of us, and the low stakes thing is just this, again, toxic messaging that child-free people are immature without having kids, that our lives don't matter because we don't have kids, that we don't care about the future because we don't have kids. Lies, lies, lies. I hate them, I hate them, I hate them.
Yeah, and also this idea that they know everything there is to know about being child-free because they once didn't have children.
Right.
And now they have children. So they're the experts,
They can compare.
Yeah, they can compare.
Now I get to tell every person who doesn't have kids that they are, quote unquote, missing out, and that my life before this didn't matter. Maybe to you, mate. Maybe to you. But that doesn't mean everyone needs to live your life.
Yeah, and I also hate this idea, comparing, talking about the game, the skin in the game, and comparing raising children to playing a hand of poker.
Gross.
And it's this is life and death, mate, which he does get into, but also why are we talking about? It's so irresponsible, and only men would do this, where they compared having kids to playing a hand of poker
or a game of football or whatever,
or whatever it is. It's life's something to win at,
right?
And it used to be easy, but I was also a loser, but now I'm a fucking winner. So look at me.
Nailed it.
So we'll move on.
Oh god.
There was also this other more measured post about this study, which came from the news movement on Instagram, which you sent me as well. So I don't know what you're following on Instagram, but no, you're probably just being served this stuff, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
It knows how mad it makes you.
Oh yes.
So they summarized the survey. They also went and dug out older surveys. You'll see why. But this one slide on their carousel really jumped out to me. Yeah, the end one.
The end one, and that annoyed me. Yeah.
So what does this say?
Yeah, let me give it a read.
It's got a nice picture of a daughter brushing her teeth and a happy dad.
Parenthood paradox. While these results show that having children neither makes people significantly happier or unhappier, other recent studies like the European Values Survey, which includes nearly 60,000 people, found that 90% agreed with the statement, watching children grow up is life's greatest joy. These findings suggest the existence of the parenthood paradox, the phenomenon where parents report lower day-to-day happiness and higher stress, but report higher overall life satisfaction and meaning than non-parents. It's a long game.
It's a long game. Just play the long game.
That's horrifying. It's like life. What am I doing here if I am spending most of my days unhappy and stressed to get to what? Some point in the future? I may not get there, by the way, because shit happens. So I just have to keep slogging. I just have to keep telling myself this one day will all be worth it. And okay, maybe for some people it is, but again, it's so irresponsible to me to tell people that you just push through that unhappiness and that stress, and one day it will be worth it. It's just baffling to me. I would much rather have happier day-to-day life, less stress day-to-day life, because that is my life right now. I'm in it right now, and I don't want to wait until the future to feel some type of way to make all of that hard work, stress, pressure, and unhappiness feel like somehow it was worth it.
Yeah, and I'm I don't really... Meaning and purpose and things come up a lot because we're challenged with that. And I don't think you need to have a purpose to your life just to live and be happy and hopefully make other people happy.
Yeah.
But
like
also,
purpose is a new thing, right? Like purpose, if you look into where did this idea of purpose come from? Because we didn't always need to have a purpose. We were just out on the fields, farming, scavenging for food, hunting. And where did purpose come from? And this is a relatively modern invention. Yeah. And could it be that we needed to give humans this idea of purpose to make them productive and make them like work harder, find your purpose? Because that seems to be another obsession that millennials especially were told. It's like, you know, you have to find this like this purpose in your life, this passion in your life, just to make your 9 to 5 feel like okay, or like you need to get rid of that 9 to 5 and find this one thing in your life that will give it to you. And that's just setting people up to fail.
And also, I think it's deliberately designed to make people ignore the fact that they are unhappy in their day-to-day.
That's it.
Do what they're supposed to do with the promise of some reward down the line.
Right, absolutely.
And also, I object to the way that this is reported, because they're saying that, your parents report lower day-to-day happiness and higher stress, but report higher overall life satisfaction and meaning. That's not true. That they're not reporting that they are feeling a sense of meaning.
Right.
These are the values survey, which I looked into, and it's based on what people believe.
Okay.
Right? Not necessarily what is true or real.
Right.
Or anything like that. So I think what's happening is there's this belief that children bring you meaning, which is a pronatalist belief, which we've all heard and we've all been told, especially if you don't have children, you've been told that. And it's a self-reinforcing belief as well, because basically people believe that they're more likely to find meaning through having children. So then they have a vested interest in believing that.
Right.
Because it makes everything worthwhile.
Yeah.
And then when you ask them, they're going to tell you that they believe that.
Yes.
But the fact that they believe that isn't proof of anything.
No.
It's just what they believe.
It might make them feel a bit better about a really difficult day, maybe, if they need to tell themselves that this is all worthwhile. But you're right. To me, it's almost a meaningless thing because it doesn't change your day-to-day happiness, which like I said, I feel like happiness is a much more important thing to me, because if I don't have that day-to-day kind of happiness, then the majority of my life is actually spent in a negative kind of way.
Yeah.
And it just feels like we're just trying to persuade people. We're just trying to convince people that what we've created with our capitalist hellhole of a world, it's all good if you work your 9 to 5 or 9 to 8 job, and then you come back and then you might see your kids for like 1 hour when you're trying to get them to eat food, and then they go to bed. How did we create a world where we are telling people to have kids and you might only get maybe half an hour or an hour a day and in that time it won't be fun? Because you will be trying to do a million things at once, maybe do some work, maybe respond to emails, maybe clean the house. So it's not quality time. You're not getting quality time at all.
No.
And that is horrifying.
And that's so much worse for people who aren't rich.
That's it. That's their life.
We've just been hearing from like rich guys so far. And that made me interested in digging a little bit deeper. And don't worry, we're not going full data nerd on this.
Oh, I like the data nerd, James.
Well, but I found another survey. So maybe you can read the headline and the kind of intro to this survey, please,
Okay.
Zoe.
Parents are not happier, but have a greater sense of meaning in life. A representative study taken in 30 European countries shows that women with low socioeconomic status in particular are less satisfied with their lives than childless women in the same social situation. In Northern European countries, parenthood is associated with the highest levels of satisfaction and meaning. And this is from the Journal of Marriage and Family.
So it's a real study. I mean, the Journal of Marriage and Family doesn't sound real.
No, it does not.
And you probably know where their allegiances lie. But this was a study of over 40,000 participants from all over Europe, and they asked them similar questions about how satisfied they are with their life and do they have a sense of meaning.
Okay.
And they also disaggregated that with socioeconomic status. So they looked at that as well. And here's what they're saying. They're saying, our study shows that people who have children are not automatically happier, but they are more likely to feel that their own lives are meaningful and valuable. Which again is that kind of thing that angel list guy told Chris Williamson, it's automatic meaning.
Right.
But it's like, by having a kid, you get the automatic meaning. And if you believe that, well, then you believe that, and you're going to report that you have meaning.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think people are getting confused with, no, you just have to keep that child alive. Maybe it's different. It's a different feeling. It's like responsibility. It's like you have a huge responsibility. You have to keep that child alive. You have to get them to school. You have to do all these things, and that drives you forward. It makes you stay in the jobs that you hate, be in the relationships that you hate. It drives you forward. So I think it's this feeling of meaning as well. I think so many people, we want to just feel like the time that we spent on this planet was not wasted. I feel like that, and I don't know what that word is, but to me, this idea of valuable is another toxic word that, like, one of our amazing podcast guests, Dr. Kate, said that, we tell people. Oh, what?
Zoe's got the conclusion of the pod on the tip of her tongue. She's good. She's good.
Okay, I'm stopping.
So hold that for a bit. Hold that.
Whoa, Zoe. Okay.
But yeah, the socioeconomic status thing is like really interesting for me. So like, let's play a little guessy game.
Ooh, yes, please.
So guess who reports more satisfaction? So women of lower socioeconomic status. Who's more satisfied, people with or without children?
I would assume without children, because it's less. Having children is another responsibility that you have to take on, and when you don't have a lot of money, that's going to be suffocating or crippling. So I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly right. Women of high socioeconomic status. Are the ones with children more satisfied than the ones without children?
So again, you have money, you can have nannies, you have people to support you, you get to enjoy parenthood more maybe. So I'm going to say then the people with kids.
Yes, but they're saying the difference is minimal.
Right.
And the same for men as well.
Okay.
Like men of any status, it compares men who are poor, men who are rich.
Right.
And when you compare the dads with childless and child-free men, there's a minimal difference, which is what we're finding like in the newer survey, right? This like neutrality. There is no difference.
Yeah.
But what happens is that the parents report more of this kind of meaning, which I think you're right. I think actually what you've gotten is a kind of the ultimate responsibility. Yeah. Which does mean something.
Yeah.
But I'd say is not the same thing as like a satisfaction or, like we're comparing like apples and oranges.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's just this baffling idea that we all will feel the same about the same things and we want the same things. That's why we are always clear about people finding the right decision for them, finding out what they love, where their joy comes from, where their meaning comes from. Whether you give a shit about meaning or not, whether you want to have purpose, there is no right or wrong. That's the thing that we are so clear about. It's that when society gives you one path and it gives you a checklist, that's where people will face problems, because we are not all the same. And it's always about going inwards, not outwards, not looking to other people and asking them, where do you find your meaning? Where do you find your purpose? It's pointless. It's like, so we have to always go inwards, listen to our bodies and find out what works and means something to us. And all of these surveys, a lot of it, it's like you said, it's apples and oranges, and it's not helping anyone really, because it's like, oh, okay, cool. So more people feel this way. Cool. Then I'll do it. More people feel that way. So I won't do this. That does not help me.
No, what would help them is the parents who are being surveyed, especially the poorer ones. What would help them is financial support.
Absolutely.
And this study also looked at national context, and it found that mothers in places like Scandinavia are more satisfied, even if they're of a lower socioeconomic status, which I'd say is just reporting the same basic thing.
Right.
Because there's more financial support for parents in those places. that means that your life as a parent will be a little easier,
right?
And less crushing, and therefore like more satisfying. So that's like what parents want is financial support. But what we're willing to give them is like this big lie about how what they're doing is like the secret to life. How they've cracked the code. And it may feel terrible and like a crushing responsibility.
Day to day unhappy, you may be hating it.
Yeah, but like at some point, I don't know when, maybe when you're on your deathbed, you'll be like, hey, that was all worthwhile.
Right.
Which is
absolute bollocks.
Absolute bollocks. So yeah, back to the original article.
Yeah.
I bravely looked at the Daily Mail comments.
Poor you. Adding to their viewership. Ugh.
And we're gonna scroll past ones like this one from Cork Turnip Knot, who says lefties trying to destroy the family unit again.
Oh God!
And other rants.
Never read the comments, lovelies. Whenever there's an article.
Well, I
like
did it, and now you have to.
Oh God, no.
So let's hear from Fuzzy Fox. This is not as cute as the username would lead us to believe.
No, okay. Rubbish. Just ask the right people, i.e. people who aren't in the anxiety club, extreme left-wing narcissists, or those addicted to Uber Eats who can't see themselves sacrificing anything for anyone, let alone their own child. Whew, so many toxic myths just rolled up into there.
Okay, this one is actually less angry-making. Cestius, I think, is more along the right track here.
Children are not supposed to make you happier. You're supposed to share your happiness with them. They are not pets or consumer goods. Something seems to have gone badly wrong with society. Yeah, this is really important. You are not meant to get something from children. And this is this idea that they will bring something into your life. They will give you love. They will give you happiness. They will give you meaning. That is such a burden to put on a child. They're just a child. They're just a person. And actually, it has to be the other way around, doesn't it? It should be, what are you going to do for this child? How are you going to grow as a person? What are you going to do for them?
Yeah.
That's what it should be.
That's your purpose.
Yes.
And that's why I think maybe we shouldn't be surprised that parents are no happier. It's not really about happiness. And that kind of idea that having kids is supposed to make you happy is quite an egocentric point of view.
Yes.
Which got me thinking about hedonism, right? Because the original survey talks about the different types of well-being. One of which is hedonic, which refers to day-to-day feelings such as happiness, sadness, loneliness, like how you feel day to day. And I think it's the same root of the word hedonism,
right?
Which this kind of assumption that you are kind of wrapped up in yourself, versus this kind of purpose in life, that other type of well-being.
Yeah.
And we hear this so much as child-free people.
I remember one of our first podcasts with Marsha Davis, who is in her 80s. She has been a child-free advocate for decades, and she has had people shouting out that she's a hedonist and how dare she not sacrifice her life. And when she was talking about that, I was like, yeah, there's a definite negative idea that if you somehow don't have children, then you're out living up the good life, just enjoying your life. How dare you enjoy your life and go out and just have a blast? What are you doing with your life?
Yeah, right. Because I was like, am I misunderstanding what hedonism is, or is everyone else? But I looked it up, and it's essentially prioritizing pleasure.
Right.
And I'm like,
that's a good thing.
Yeah,
we
that
should
so
be
bad?
doing. No, it's
that's
not.
That's happiness, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely happiness. What is life if you don't do that? I don't understand. But yeah, it's very clear to me that we are trying to convince people that they need to not seek out their own pleasure and joy, and think about, especially for women, think about everyone else. If you're a woman, you're quote unquote selfish for choosing yourself, for looking out for yourself, for listening to your own voice. How dare you? And that's why I really think that like child-free women are like the new modern day witches, because there is this idea that we are evil. How could we just think about ourselves? And that messaging gets into women's heads that we that we somehow need to sacrifice ourselves and our lives for our partners, our children, our society, the world. And actually, that's all pro-natalist messaging to make you live a life of servitude to everyone else.
Yeah.
And men will not need to do that, by the way. They can just go and live their lives, have their careers, and enjoy their lives. And when you see that, when you like step out of that kind of matrix and you see it very clearly, it just gives me so much more determination to enjoy the time that I have on this planet, to make sure that I do prioritize myself first, because the world isn't going to prioritize me.
Hell no.
So women, especially, we as people, we do need to look after ourselves, because if you're in a pro-natalist, capitalist, patriarchal world, it's going to tell you you need to give over your life to this other machine, this system. And what are you left when you do that? We see this a lot. People who have lived their lives for everyone else, who they did the jobs they hated because they were told they're meant to have all of the money and they're meant to be rich, and they're always searching for this next thing that society is telling them, that they just need to work harder, have more kids, you know, stay in those relationships that you hate, because if you're alone, somehow you're sad. And are they happy at the end of that? Absolutely not.
Does anyone care?
No, exactly. So look out for yourselves, lovelies.
Yeah, and I think also maybe we need to embrace something I discovered called ethical hedonism.
Ooh,
which says that people have a moral duty to pursue pleasure and avoid pain.
Love it.
Love it.
Love it.
And
love
I think
it.
actually that reminds me a lot of the kind of anti-natalist position, which, to be clear, we are not out here trying to tell anyone who wants children not to have them. So we wouldn't go out there and say that. But part of the logic behind that thinking is that, yes, if you have children, you'll be bringing someone into the world, and they may bring you joy. Their existence may bring them joy, but also they will suffer, right? And there's no avoiding that pain. And for some people, the possibility of like inflicting that pain on someone who doesn't exist yet is reason enough not to create them.
I'm just thinking about one of our recent Childfree elders that we met, David. That was one of his reasons why he didn't want to have kids. He didn't want to have a child suffer like he suffered. And that's valid. That's completely valid.
Yeah. And it's totally reasonable, but it's not acceptable thinking. It's not the kind of thing that you're allowed to say, because you're supposed to sublimate thoughts like that and carry on and sacrifice.
And just live in pain, suffer. Like humans, we're not meant to live like this. We're not meant to be working most of our lives until we're now going to be in our 80s when we maybe retire, if we retire. For what? How is that the life? Because we have this amazing gift of travel, we are able to see the world and just see how beautiful the world is. And I just wish people could be able to experience our planet, and before we destroy it, you know.
Yeah. And right, speaking of experiencing things, my favorite article about all of this hoopla was in The Guardian, an opinion piece by Rhiannon Lucy Coslet titled, "Am I a happier person for having a child? It's the wrong question to ask."
Yes.
So here's what she had to say about the study's results.
This was seen as surprising, but is it truly? I love my son, and being his mother has given my life great joy and meaning. But that is not to say that my life has more joy and meaning than that of someone without children. To an extent, comparing my life as a mother with the life of a stranger without children is meaningless. Children are not appendages whose presence or absence reveal a static emotional state. The only way you could truly get the data would be by having access to the two timelines. In one, you had children. In the other, you didn't. The parallel selves would each complete a cognitive behavioral therapy questionnaire, which could then be compared. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're getting at here, is that what gives you meaning and joy doesn't give another person meaning and joy. And when you open one door, you close a million other doors. That doesn't mean that any of those doors was better or worse than the door that you've chosen.
Yeah.
And we have to let go of this idea that there is this like one true path, that once we get there, everything will fall into place. Everything will make sense. We will have balance and harmony and joy and meaning. We have to throw that messaging away, because when you are being told these messages, there's a reason behind it. Yeah. Someone is getting something from this. Someone is getting something from your anxiety and this turmoil that you will have about should you have kids and should you not. And especially if you are ambivalent and on the fence, they want you to be in this state of going, if I don't have children, I may miss out on the biggest meaning and purpose and joy in my life. Maybe I am a selfish human for not doing that. There is a reason why this messaging is out there, and we always have to ask ourselves, why? Why do I feel turmoil? Why am I not asking myself? Why am I not going inside of myself, trying to work out, where do I truly feel joy and happiness for me, not for anyone else?
100%, because that's the thing. Even if you could do, and I love a hypothetical, even if you could do what Rhiannon's suggesting, and maybe, I guess, have some kind of crystal ball and look into your future without children and compare those outcomes, I'd kind of add to that, to the experiment, that you need to actually be able to flip a switch in each of those parallel selves' heads and say, like, so you want children and you don't want children.
Right, yeah.
Because that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Is like, what do you want?
Yes.
And it seems quite simple, but it's like, if you sit with yourself and work out what you want and you trust yourself and you do that, then you have a higher likelihood of being happy.
And we live in such a linear kind of world. We're taught to have these linear goals, right? It's like one thing after the next, keep going. And you will, at the end of this mammoth journey, you'll somehow find the ultimate path. And we need to let go of that. Maybe I would have had a happier life if I'd been a millionaire and I'd, didn't have to do certain things or whatever. Or maybe not. Maybe I would be very sad. Maybe I wouldn't have the friends that I had. Like this, it's an impossible thought experiment to try and put yourselves into another life and go, oh, well, if I could do this thing, my life would be better. Because often we romanticize as well these other paths that we don't take. Because in many folks' head, they're like, if I could have had children, maybe then it would have looked like this perfect picture, romanticized picture of nothing was wrong with my child. I was surrounded by this huge family on my deathbed. It's always the romanticized view when we look back and we think, what if? Never, what if you'd had chosen that path? And what if it turned out terrible?
Yeah.
What if something horrible had happened? What if it hadn't given you the things that you think right now it would give you? Like, those are all realities that absolutely could happen.
Yeah, which Rhiannon gets into a little bit. So if you could read a little more from this.
Even then, though, it doesn't quite get to the crux of it. You might as well ask, does loving people make you happy? The answer to which would be sometimes yes, but at other times it causes great pain. That is the human condition. In choosing to have children, you are essentially widening the cluster of people whom you love fiercely, whose sorrows are your sorrows, whose death or absence would destroy you. When this is your child, those feelings are more potent than you ever could have imagined. To quote my mother, once you have a child, you are forever vulnerable. To quote Shadia, who looked after my son when he was a baby, there he is, your heart outside of your body. Yeah.
Right. Which I'll take from this person and not Jimmy
Not that
Carr.
dude, not that toxic, misogynistic piece of shit. Yeah, like, of course, and we hear this actually from people who, because we're speaking to lots of elder child-free folks, they will often have lots of stories from their friends who have kids. So they're the ones who are telling me when I'm doing the interviews. I have loads of parent friends who they tell me their children are horrible. They don't see them. They don't look after them. So there is sorrow mixed in with that joy that they've had with that journey. There is sorrow there. And I think that, and she's absolutely right. When you add people into your life, you are going to be exposing yourself to immense love and pleasure, but also maybe immense pain and sorrow. And I don't believe that like any one is more worthy or valuable than the other. Of course, the feelings that a person has for a child are going to be different to the feelings that I have for you as my life partner. Doesn't mean I am not going to be, I would be destroyed if you weren't here.
I'll link in the show notes to this article.
Yeah, it's really good.
Really good. She like takes the trip down her own thought experiment, which is a really valuable reflection from a mother who can imagine her life another way. And in doing so, she validates the experience of child-free people, childless people.
Right.
And it's really measured, and I'm glad it's in the parenting section of a mainstream publication, and that Rhiannon is helping spread the kind of messaging that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But back to the Daily Fail.
Please.
Last time, I promise. This comment, right? This comment sounds very altruistic, but is it? So this is from Grouchy Old Guy.
As I stare into the abyss, oh God, I derive great joy from my adult children, and I'm very happy that my grandkids are turning out well and will carry the human race forward. My time on this planet hasn't been a waste. Ugh, okay.
So that's like really amazing and altruistic, right?
Yeah, that's so, yeah, that's wonderful, dude. Really.
Is it actually all about him, right?
Yeah.
And how important he's been in raising those children and being ultimately responsible for those grandkids.
Are turning out well.
Yeah, and will carry the human race forward. And I think that's a difference in what we hear from men and women about this. The kind of satisfaction he's talking about is purely egocentric, and it's about how important he's been and how his DNA will live on into the future, and he's been integral in guaranteeing the future of the human race, which is truly wild.
Dude. Like, we don't need it. Like, yeah, and I mean, and yeah, that idea of legacy that's pushed on men. This idea that you must seed your wonderful genetics all around, and it's like, no, just put it away, please. But yeah, I just don't think people realize we used to just be walking around hunting, working on the land, and where was our next meal coming from? That was what we were focused on, right? Why now, all of a sudden, is it about waste on this planet? Could it be that we're just meant to be here, to exist, to just be here?
Right.
Could that be actually the purpose is to be on this planet and to use the time that you have in the way that you want to use it? Not for the purposes of billionaires, not that, because to me that feels like the ultimate waste. When we convince humans that they are here to serve other people and billionaires, and that we force them to work their whole lives, that they need to pay for their existence, that it's like a mindfuck to me. That is how we have now convinced people that it's all worthwhile, because hey, what else are you going to do? Maybe just exist, just live your life, wake up, be happy.
So now you land in the plane, because now it's time to hear from, as Zoe predicted earlier on, Dr. Kate Thomas, who was the first episode of the podcast way back when, before she was dating Andrew Garfield, and turning him onto the joys of child freedom, which sounds like I'm making it up, but Google it, Dr. Kate Thomas. But anyway, the most valuable gift she gave us, I think, was this quote.
It is such a pernicious belief that you're not valuable if you're not producing, and especially if you're not producing children. There's this belief that you have to produce something else. You just live, just fucking getting up every day, getting dressed, eating food, and existing is enough. That is enough. And if you manage to do something that brings somebody else joy, then that's even better. But you don't need to earn your keep on this planet, I mean, incredible words. And I remember them years and years down the line, because she nailed it so clearly. And we have to really always ask ourselves where this toxic messaging comes from, because it's not ourselves. It's not. It's coming from the world around us that wants us to do our part on this planet, be part of a cog in a system, make sure those people at the top keep earning their billions of pounds, and you just keep your mouth shut, keep having those kids, and keep telling yourself it's all worthwhile, even if it's incredibly difficult and hard. We just need you to keep doing what we want you to do. Yeah. And Kate just like calls it out so clearly and simply. And I hope that's what people can take away from this podcast episode, is that you get to define all of it yourself.
Absolutely. Like, parenthood could be about, if in its purest form, bringing someone else joy, you know,
right.
making someone else happy, bringing them joy day to day. That's a beautiful thing. But you might also be inflicting suffering on a being that wouldn't otherwise exist. And so you can't think that you're going to do these things for a sense of automatic meaning or purpose, because you don't know that you're going to feel that way. You also don't know that feeling that way is going to mean that you're happy or satisfied on a day-to-day basis. And if you are one of the less fortunate cogs in the big machine and your life is harder, then you're almost certainly guaranteed to have a harder time of it by doing this. And so that's why I don't think you should sort of bet your happiness on someone else. Like, to use Jimmy Carr's fucking stupid poker metaphor, yeah, the stakes are higher, but you shouldn't be playing with lives like this.
My God, no. Like, it's enough to just try and look after yourself. And in the way that we've set up the world, there are millions of us who are trapped. Like, we have to work these jobs, we have to pay these bills, and it's like we need to do what we can do to create the joy in the ways that we can with what we're given, and make sure we ultimately look after ourselves first, and not add on extra weight or responsibility or burdens that we never wanted in the first place, because we're told that we're just meant to do this and somehow it will give us something. No, we have to find it within ourselves. That's the first step. Find that worthiness from just being here right now, existing. You don't need to add on anything else to find it, because we're told that we're on this like perpetual search. But once you reach that first goal, then there's the next goal. Then the first kid didn't bring you the meaning or the joy that you were told it would. So let's have another one. Or let's get this next promotion. Or let's buy this bigger house. It's always the next thing, the next thing. And actually, it's not in the next thing. It's right now. Life is happening for us right now. And we need to be able to create the joy right now in whatever ways we can, whether it's reading that book, you know, in our spare time that gives us the joy, walking our dogs, helping our community, helping our friends, or just looking after ourselves, because life is really hard right now for many of us, and it's enough to just look after ourselves. And I hope we can just let go of these toxic ideas, because they just set us up to fail. Yeah,
actually, if you would like help setting down these toxic ideas, Zoe's just launched Hearth, a gathering for child-free women. So tell us a little bit about that.
I mean, this is the program I wish I had when I first started just discovering the child-free life that I'm going to live, and basically being aware of how now I see the world as not set up for me at all. I see that my friends, they are going in a different direction, and basically I'm not given a script. I have to find it out all myself. I have to do that work, and I have to go inside myself, because yes, when you choose to have children, the whole world is basically geared towards that life path. And if you don't have that, you're going to feel more isolated. So we're going to get a group of women together. We're going to meet every 2 weeks for 3 months, and we're going to talk through the topics that affect us, the feelings of isolation, the feelings of guilt when your life may appear easier, but actually, is it? Because life can be really difficult when you choose a different path than the one society has laid out for you. So yes, you may not have this extra responsibility of looking after children. But you have to be child-free every day. You have to show up for yourself and make this decision every day and have society telling you and treating you a certain way. And that takes a lot of effort. And I want us to be able to get through with an incredible group of women and create that community that you will have, I hope, for the rest of your lives.
Yeah. So check out the link in the show notes to find Hearth and join that gathering. It's really exciting.
I can't wait. I can't wait to be able to meet and talk about all the things that we just are not able to talk about. Say the things that you might have never said these things to anyone else.
Right? Like, it's one thing hearing it from us and listening along while you're walking your dog or doing whatever brings you a simple joy. But it's a total other thing to be able to say these things out loud to a group of people who like really get it.
Yeah.
And if just hearing this message has helped you in any way, we would appreciate your support. So you can head on over to our Substack where you can support We Are Childfree and help keeping this going, because we know that this truly matters. We're seeing more and more conversations about not having children, but a lot of it is really messy and not helpful and would pit us against parents and against each other. And we don't need any more of that. So if you want to help us kind of spread our message of hope to other child-free people, that you won't be alone, that you can be happy, that you can find purpose, or that you don't even need to have purpose. You don't need to justify your existence. Head on over to our Substack and find out how to support us. And we really appreciate all the support.
We do, lovelies. We do. Thank you. This is a community-supported project and we couldn't do this without you. So thank you if you are one of those supporters. And if you are one of the people who shares our work and mentions, what we're doing to friends, it all helps. It really helps us just get our message of hope out there to child-free people. So thank you for being part of this movement.
Yeah, and thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this or have any thoughts about it at all, please let us know. We love hearing from you all.
If you want to drop a 5-star review, we won't be mad at that either.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
But until next time.
Thanks, lovelies. See you next time.
Bye.